Hey, it's Sammy for another episode of the I Do Music podcast, and our goal and our mission is to empower and educate musicians and artists worldwide. And on today's episode, we're talking to chart-topping producer Major 7 on getting his first major placement with Rick Ross's Devil Is a Lie, being relentless in his pursuit through music, and the importance of having a solid team around you. You're now listening to the I Do Music podcast. This is your host, Sammy, and I'm sitting down with an awesome producer, Major 7.
Straight from the A. How you doing?
Straight from Atlanta. How you doing?
I'm good. Just out here getting it.
Out here working. That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about, first, what you've worked on so far. You have, you reached that first major placement with Rick Ross, Devil Is a Lie, featuring Jay-Z. That's a really big record.
Yeah,
to be
it was.
First. Were you expecting it to be a big record?
Yeah. Once I seen Jay-Z was on there, I already knew it was gonna be something special. And then once I knew what beat it was too that they were using, I already knew it was gonna be crazy.
What was the process of that? You just send over stuff to Rick Ross, or like how did that experience come about?
I actually didn't even know it was happening the way it worked. It was a producer I know, and then it kind of happened in a weird situation.
Okay.
You know how it is when you first get in the game, so
yeah.
But it all worked out real quick. Like Key Sweat was managing me, and
okay.
He just kind of helped me with all the business and everything. So it just kind of happened through just sending music.
Yeah, and then they just selected. That's dope. That says something, I think, to you about you as a musician, just because a lot of Ross's production seems to be very musical.
Yeah, it's really musical and soulful.
Very, right? Like I don't know one Ross record. Like the fact that he works with John Legend a lot kind of talks to who he, or what type of music he creates. So tell us about your foundation. Did you play an instrument growing up, or what was?
Yeah, I learned piano. You know, I played piano all the time. I started learning guitar a little bit.
Gotcha.
Played around with the bass. So I think my main instrument will be piano.
Yeah.
But I try to learn a little bit of everything. You know
For
what
sure.
I'm saying? Because even if you don't know how to play it all the way, if you have a musician come through, you'll be able to communicate your ideas with them, so that way you get them to play exactly what you need them to play.
Exactly. So the being able to voice that, right? Like being able to say what it is, articulate what it is. Well, your name, Major 7, comes from a combination of things, but I know one being the chord or the chord progression.
Exactly. It's definitely the chord progression. Yeah,
so tell me about like how you got your interest in music theory. Like a lot of producers and musicians in general may not be that knowledgeable of those things.
Well, I started piano lessons when I was very young.
How old were you?
Man, I don't even know. I was pretty young.
Was that your doing or your parents?
Now, my parents kind of put me onto it because I was interested in it. And then I was doing it for a couple of years, and that's when I learned how to read music.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing really, really good. But then my parents, my dad, he had got sick on his job, so they couldn't really afford to give me lessons anymore. So for a while, I had stopped until I was like in high school, and then I just kind of picked it back up.
That's dope.
Just on my own, and that's when I started just playing by ear versus by notes. I just started creating and playing by ear.
That's dope. Were you in a band?
No, I wasn't.
You were in a band. Okay, so you have a few, even like, or pretty big records aside from just Devil Is a Lie. Selfish was a great record for you. Was that this year, right?
Yeah, that was this year.
Yeah, that charted on Billboard's Hot 100 and certified platinum now. Yep. How does that feel for you?
It's a wonderful feeling, especially because that's my first platinum record. So I already know sky's the limit, and I'm just ready to keep going and keep setting new goals and reaching new heights. You know.
And that record was with Future. For those that may not know which Selfish record I'm talking about, but you should. It was a great record with Rhiana on it as well. Did you have a relationship with the artist prior to, or are these things like kind of similar situation to Ross, where you just throwing it out, shooting your shot?
Well, it happened through another producer who wrote and produced "Drunken Love" for Beyonce. You know Detail. So I was doing a lot of work with Detail, and then he brought me in with Future when he came out here. When he first heard my music, he called me on FaceTime. He was with Solo Lucci. That's like my big brother. So he called me on FaceTime. He was like, "When can you come to LA and then they flew me out to LA like ASAP, and
That's
then
what's
so I was doing a lot of work with Detail.
Gotcha.
And then when he came to Atlanta, he brought me in with Future, and that's kind of how that happened.
That's dope. So you say a lot of your relationships have brought you into spaces like the Rick Ross record or Selfish. Yeah. Tell me some of the people that I guess you met in the introduction of you going into producing or into the music business. Because you said Keith Sweat was managing you.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main first people that I met that was like really, really in the music industry. And that happened through a writer named Fitzgerald Scott. He wrote on Nobody with Keith. And then it was one day he just brought a whole bunch of producers and writers that were upcoming to Keith's house. And everybody was just playing Keith music. And then the next day Keith called me like, hey, man, I really love your stuff. And he wanted to work with me. So that's kind of how that happened.
That's dope. So tell me, because I don't really get like necessarily an Atlanta sound from you. Maybe not. It's like, it's very musical. Like I can tell you have like an ear for music. But how has Atlanta, being from here, influenced or what you do musically? Or what you create?
That's musically. Funny that you say that, because I am from Atlanta, but I definitely don't consider myself having the like typical Atlanta or trap sound, you know. I try to like explore a lot of different genres of music and try to mix them together, you know. And I think I try to make really big sounding stuff. Like people always tell me your music sounds like movies. And so I just try to like create a whole atmosphere with my music when I'm creating it. But Atlanta definitely has a big influence on my music. Like for instance, even with Devil Is a Lie, like the drums had trap elements. So a lot of the stuff, the drums will have really trap elements, but the music will be like
the surround you.
Yeah, it'll be more surrounding and like soulful, and I put a lot of like small elements to just make things in the arrangement. Like I really think very hard about how I arrange songs, and I'll go back and forth on it, and I'll revise it like 10 times sometimes. Really? Yeah. I'm a perfectionist.
That's a good quality to have. Yeah. So how long does it typically take you? Like, take us through the process of you creating a record, like, or creating just music in general. What is it that you have to have maybe to create?
Well, as long as I got a computer and a keyboard and my drum machine, I use like a lot of Native Instrument stuff. And I'm like their product specialist for Atlanta too.
Oh, really? Yeah. You know we got the room downstairs.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was just down there. And so, like, that's one of my favorite companies. So, as long as I really got their stuff and a couple other sounds, like I use Omnisphere a lot, I'm good to go. You know what I'm saying? So, I really work in any environment. And sometimes I usually just start with a dope sample. It could be that. It could be just playing the piano chord progression. I might just make a cool drum loop. It just depends on what the inspiration is. Yeah. So I try to produce in different ways. I even when I was in college, I would just challenge myself, you know. Like I would have artists come over and then who write to their guitar. And then I'll build the production just around their song.
So you went to college. What college did you go to?
Georgia Southern.
Okay. Yeah. My brother went to Georgia Southern.
Oh, really? Statesboro.
Statesboro is a different place.
Yeah, it is.
What was your experience, or like, was that helpful for you in terms of music, or like, what were you?
I think so, cause like Statesboro is so far away from everything that
you could really lock in.
Yeah, I was locked in, and I always kind of been that person. Where it's like when everybody else was partying or doing whatever else, I was just locked in, just focused on my craft. Cause for me, I just kind of seen college as an excuse to like focus on your craft for 4 more years.
Exactly.
Because, you know what I'm saying, if you just at home making beats, everybody gonna be like, what you doing? There's gonna be a lot of pressure, you know what I'm saying? So it's like I jumped right out of college into the music industry pretty much.
That's what's up. Same. But I guess I wanted to ask, you spoke about inspirations. Yeah. Who are some of your influences or inspirations like coming up? And actually before that, at what moment did you decide like I want to be a producer? Or did you know that you could be a producer?
After I started making beats, like it was just kind of for fun, and I just became really passionate about it. It was never just about like, oh, I could make a lot of money doing this, or whatever. So I think that whole time I was in college, I wasn't really like, I'm going to be a producer. I was just like, I want to be really great at this, you know?
Yeah.
And I want to make great music, and I want to keep getting better. So
just perfecting your craft.
Yeah, it was just like something that just kind of happened after a while. I just wanted the world to hear it. So it's like when I create music, it's almost like, it's more for like sharing part of me with the world and knowing that I have something to offer that people will enjoy than it is just about making money. So it's just like, man, they got to hear this. You know what I'm saying?
Does it scare you to, like showcase or what you're creating, or is it like it's exciting?
It's exciting to me. Like, even when I send it to people, I used to call all my friends on Skype when they would listen to my music, just so I could see their reactions. Just seeing people's reactions when they hear my music is always rewarding enough. So that's what I make music for. Just like I tell people, like everything I do is for the opportunity to press play. So every time I get that opportunity, it's like everything to me. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up.
And seeing how people react, and it makes a difference because some people, they believe in quantity over quality, but I'm the type of person, I'll work as long as it takes to make something that's really quality.
That's important. I mean, that's what will land you
and
a certified platinum record. So
Yeah.
what would you tell an aspiring producer missed waiting for their moment with the endless possibilities of music as a producer? Like, how long were you even producing before you landed that Rick Ross record?
At least 6 years.
Yeah. So, like, what would you tell somebody who's an aspiring producer, like, waiting for their moment?
I mean, they say overnight success in the music industry is 10 years. So just focus on your craft. And, like for instance, people will send me stuff and be like, what do you think it is? Or people would just start rapping and think that it's just going to happen like that. And I'll be like, it's cool, but you know what I'm saying? There's so much things that you just have to go through, and you just have to learn to figure out, like, this is how I can be better. You know what I'm saying? You can't just have yes men around you. You got to have people who's going to be like, man, this is, nah, bro.
Going to be honest with you.
Yeah, this is trash. Like, I done had people around me who kept it real with me, and that it made me mad at the moment, but it always pushed me because I'm so competitive. It's like, I got to go back and make it better, make it better, make it better. And so I think that's important, just to surround yourself with people that'll give you the honest feedback, and you got to compare yourself to the things that you like and the things that's winning. Like, even if it's songs on the Billboard or top 10 songs that I don't even like, I'm like, well, why is it a top 10 song?
Right.
So I listen to music and I just like try to understand the things that I don't understand, you know?
Yeah, sure. Could you name, I guess, a project to date or an experience to date that you've had within the music industry that's been like your all-time favorite so far?
All-time favorite experience. So this started when I did an iStandard event, and I think it was like Beat Camp or A3C, and they had like a producer cypher. This is right after I did Devil Is a Lie, and it was like all the big producers. And they were like all playing all the records they did. I had one record, so I was just like, Devil Is a Lie, bam. So when I played it, it was like a celebrity producer cypher, and Focus, who works with Dr. Dre, he came and this is me the first time I met Focus. He wrote on his phone, he said Jimmy Iovine's and Dr. Dre's favorite record, and he showed it to me, and I was like, oh, that's crazy, even though I didn't believe it. But then I went to LA one time, and then my boy D-Dot, he brought me over to Marsha Ambrosia's crib, and I was playing her some stuff, and she was like, have you met Dre yet? And I was like, nah. She's like, he's always referencing your song. And I'm like, oh, this might be real. And then I went, and then I finally met Dre, like, on that same trip. And he was like, that's my shit when I met him. So I was just like, it was crazy for somebody that's that legendary to be, like, a fan of my music.
Yeah. And
to, like, reference my music to. And then for him to, like, be able to play me this whole album and all of that, it was just, like, an overwhelming experience for me. And I'm usually really chill. I'll never get like starstruck or anything like that. But that was one experience I could stay, like, it felt like at a really important moment in my life, you know?
Yeah. I would be taken aback. Shoot.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Dre.
Yeah.
That's what's up. So speaking of that, who are some other people, or what are some other projects or artists that may have, even producers may have inspired you or influenced you coming up?
I think for me, like, I know I'm the type of person, I never really had like a favorite producer or anybody like that, but like I just try to learn from everybody who I seen was successful and winning. So like I know with R&B, like when I first started producing, I only did R&B mostly, and I think Brian Michael Cox was one of the main influences that I had, and who else? Teddy Riley, he's so legendary, and a lot of these people are like my mentors now. Like yeah, like Teddy Riley borrowed my drum machine for a show. It's crazy, lit. And
life comes full circle.
Yeah, it really does, and yeah, so many influences like Timbaland. It's Pharrell.
Yeah.
It's like Dre, of course, and I just never really had a favorite producer, but like I just try to learn from all of them. You know,
all the greats.
Yeah, all the greats. Even if I don't like somebody, like I said, or don't understand the music, I try to like appreciate it for what it is, and learn from it.
Right. So I have to ask because I feel like a lot of times, especially today, that producers will just send out music, and they may not necessarily be in the studio with the artist. Do you feel like you have to? Because you mentioned that you started off with R&B, which I think you definitely have to be connected to the artist some way.
Yeah, for sure.
But not just with R&B. Do you feel like you have to have a connection with the artist or the project in order to successfully create a hit record?
Nowadays, you definitely don't. But
for you personally, what do you prefer?
For me personally, I prefer to be like working directly with artists, and because for me, like, a producer isn't necessarily just a person that makes beats. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've honed so many other skills in my time, like developing my craft, like engineering, songwriting, vocal arrangements. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I think a producer is really a communicator and an orchestrator of a record, so they can put the right people in the room to make the right things happen and be able to bring out the best of everyone. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. Whether it's just like that part's dope, but you got to put it on this part, and being able to orchestrate the production. And I think that being a producer requires you to wear different hats at different times, whether it's sometimes you might be more of an engineer than you are the person that made the beat, or you might be more of a beat maker than you are a songwriter. But I think developing all of those skills and your communication skills is what helps you be a great producer.
I agree. What's one thing about the music business that you know now that you wish you had known before? I'm sure there might be multiple things, but what's one thing that you can recall?
Just how important it is to have like a team, have good management, lawyers. You know what I'm saying?
You need to secure that check.
Yeah, you just have to be able to have people who can stand up and negotiate different things, and people who could get the paperwork done in a timely fashion and get everything squared away properly.
Who are the people on your team? Like, what roles do you think you need as somebody who's a producer who's like has a hit record out and are trying to acquire royalties and those things?
I think definitely. I think the lawyer is probably like so important because if your paperwork isn't right, like it's so many things in those contracts that you have to pay attention to. You might think that you could just do it yourself, but you'll be surprised how many different clauses and how much pages that those contracts are. Like, it's extremely important to have an attorney that you trust.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because you've even had a few film and TV placements yourself, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So like the NFL draft, I thought was something. Black Mass, which was the Johnny Depp movie film. How'd you get into that as a producer, into film, into that space? And I'm sure that's where the contracts and things come into.
Yeah, exactly. It's contracts with everything.
Yeah.
But like with the TV and film stuff, that just kind of happened with working with different publishing companies.
Gotcha.
And so like they'll reach out because they're constantly looking for movies and TV placements at all times. Because if you really watch TV or watch any movie, there's a soundtrack to everything.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, that's important.
And you'll be surprised like how much of a market there is for me. So that kind of opened my eyes to like that whole market, because there's so much money just in film and TV that a lot of people are so focused on trying to get records on artists and placements on artists that you could be closed-minded to like so many other opportunities that are out there. And that really opened my eyes to see like, whoa, music is so much bigger than just like the artists that we know. And even me doing like a lot of international records, I've done like a lot of records for like major artists in like Russia, Italy, and it just opened my eyes when
how do you get to that space? Like, how do you get to a point where you're connected to people who are, I mean, obviously the internet is a great
the internet
tool.
is an amazing tool, because like it wasn't even something that I was really looking for. It kind of looked for me. And but it definitely opened my eyes, and after that, it's something that I think that a lot of people and a lot of upcoming producers here could really research these labels and research these people that are overseas and create opportunities for themselves just by reaching out, because it's a lot easier to communicate with those people than it is for like a lot of the people here.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like they're very open to music coming from America.
That's an interesting thing. Trend. Yeah, that's an interesting thing, because like in Europe, especially, a lot of artists, they go there first to tour, or even producers work with a lot of artists in the UK because they're open to music. Do you feel like you have like a global sound, like that artists are more internationally are more willing to work with you for that, or reaching out to you for that?
Yeah, most definitely. Like I try to be really versatile and try to incorporate a lot of different elements. So I think that I could work on a lot of different genres, and I think just having a Caribbean background, like my family's Jamaican, reggae is worldwide. So
see, that's why you was living on the east side. Yeah, that's where all the Caribbean people in Atlanta live.
That's real.
On the east side. Okay, that makes sense. So I wanted to ask you, because as creatives, especially being behind the scenes, like as a producer or a film director or anybody behind the scenes, sometimes we can be a little reserved.
Yeah, for sure.
And not necessarily people persons. How important for you has it been to be a people person, to have those relationships?
It's been extremely important. Like at first I wasn't like that, you know what I'm saying? But I had my goals, and I knew like to get to the next level what it required. So if you like people who are on my Instagram, they're like, man, how are you always here? How you always there? How you always backstage here? How you always doing this? And I think it's just extremely important to like put yourself out there and be able to use every stepping stone that you take towards your goal, and be able to use that to leverage another situation. Like every success that I ever had, whether it was big or small, I used it to get to the next step. Mm-hmm. And you got to learn how to communicate with people effectively. And when you meet somebody, you probably got like 10 to 20 seconds to show them why you're valuable to them. You know what I'm saying? Especially somebody who's constantly being approached. And so that's something that I had to learn how to do, and kind of create my own methods to network in.
How even in the space of like building with artists and others like music execs or lawyers or whoever in the music industry, like how do you work those relationships? You said you kind of crafted your own way of networking, but tell us how you've been able to do that, being that you may not have been a social person, because I know that's difficult for some people. Were you like forcing yourself to be uncomfortable, I guess?
Yeah, you have to force yourself to be uncomfortable. Like at first I didn't even like traveling, so I would have to go out to LA, sometimes not even know like how something was gonna happen, but you just got to be hungry, you know what I'm saying? Like it was one time I went to LA, like my goal was to like meet Kanye. Mm-hmm. And then I like took a Uber like all the way to wherever his concert was. It was super far. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was going to have a plug to get in, but I didn't. And I found a way to end up getting backstage. Wow. I don't even remember how I made it happen, but ended up being backstage, and I met Kanye like that. Wow. You know what I'm saying? So it's been several times that like you just have to will yourself to a win, you know what I'm saying?
Totally.
And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but you got to understand that it's okay to fail, you know what I'm saying? Like, shoot, I got a record with Rhiana, but if I go on my email right now and type Rhiana, you probably see how much times I attempted to send stuff for Rhiana for years, you know what I'm saying? And how much times I attempted to work with people who's working with Rhiana. or whoever, whatever the case is, you know what I'm saying? It's just so, like, people see the successes, but
they don't know how you got there. You don't even
know how many failures came with that, and sometimes it'll even take, like, deleting stuff just so when you try again that you don't even see the failures. You know what I'm saying? You gotta keep pushing. Persistent. You know what I'm saying?
So who, dead or alive, because you've been able to work with a number of like really notable artists, but I want to ask like who you want to work with that you may not have had the opportunity to work with yet.
Man, I wish I could work with Tupac. Mm-hmm. Tupac was actually a really big influence to me.
Really? Yeah, musically too, for sure.
Yeah, just like even before I started producing, just like the stuff that he talked about, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just made me want to like grow up and do something special, like be able to help my family, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. Like just his struggle and things that his subject matter, it was just really important to me, like growing up. I love Tupac, so I would definitely wish I could work on something with Tupac.
That's what's up. Who artists today are you looking or interested in their sound maybe, or somebody that you may want to work with?
That's a lot coming up right now, especially in the R&B game. R&B's coming back a little bit. I like Sabrina Claudio. Mm-hmm. She's really dope.
Apple Music really pushed her to the top.
Yeah, for real.
Those platforms.
She's super dope. Mm-hmm. SZA, she's crazy. Kalani, I want to work with Kalani. Of course, like I got a few A-list, like super A-listers that are just legendary that I just want to work with, like Beyonce. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? If I could get a Jay and a Beyonce, that would be pretty dope.
That would.
And even Eminem, like it's just so many like huge influences that I would definitely love to work with. Yeah, I got so many more goals, like, and I got music for all of them. So if you're listening, hit me up.
So you talked about how like you definitely starting off were really into the R&B space, and obviously you want to continue, but like talk about breaking out of the confines of just R&B and exploring other options in music as a producer.
Well, when I was doing R&B, I always tried to be versatile. That just because I didn't do it well at the time. That's why I said I mostly did R&B, because this is how I really got into hip hop. Like I was doing R&B and I thought I was making hip hop beats, and then my cousin, and we always go back and forth to this day. Antoine, he pretty much told me, he was like, man, you can't make no rap beats. Like I was like, so what's this? He's like, that's not rap. And then so like that kind of pushed me. Like I said, I'm real competitive, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna show him what's up.
Yeah.
And then so I just started really working on my craft and just developing. And so when I got Devil's Lie, I was like, oh, what you gonna say now? I got the king of rap on my joint. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, just
working at it.
Just working hard, and then you just got to understand like where you can improve. Like you got to be real and learn what quality is, because sometimes you think something is good, but you'll be surprised. Like to this day, I upgrade records that I've done back in the day because they got potential, but you'll be surprised how much like updating the drums and making the drums knock harder and doing the right patterns could like make that record have so much more potential to get placed. You know what I'm saying? Like little things could change it.
Yeah, I agree with that. You've worked with many notable names in the business so far, but why is it important for producers to work alongside the up-and-coming acts, like independent artists who may not have gotten their break yet? Or is it important to you?
I think it's important. I think there's so much talent out there that it's inspiring, because you could really set a whole new trend and start a whole new wave. So that's exactly why I think it's super important.
What inspires you to create?
Just the drive to make something special for the world. Like just to be able to have like people have life experiences to your music. Like when I hear certain stories, or like I've seen my music being in like Instagram videos. Sometimes I'll like hashtag a song that I did and just see how people associate those songs to like experiences in their life, and it's pretty crazy. Even like going on YouTube and just typing in like one of my songs, you see how much producers are trying to remake the beats and all that stuff. It's just really crazy that you can really have that type of impact on people like all around the world. And I think it's just like a legacy thing. It's just like like what's important in life, and when you leave, it's like what did you leave, and
Right.
and just making like my family proud and just showing like the new generation that anything's possible. You know what I'm saying? So it's just about proving to myself that anything's possible. Like sometimes I have to sit back and think like, how am I just a regular person, but I got my name on a plaque with Jay-Z? It's just
That's dope,
ridiculous.
Though.
You know what I'm saying?
Could you have, or as a child, did you imagine yourself as a producer?
I actually didn't. I was actually more into art when I was younger. Like, I went to Stevenson, so I actually designed the T-shirt.
Oh, really?
The senior T-shirt.
That's dope.
So I used to be crazy into art and drawing. So I think I was overall just a creative person, and my parents just kind of pushed me. Like, no matter what I wanted to do, I became really, really good at it. Like, I was always like better than average at it.
Comes in.
Yeah, because I would always like become obsessed with the craft. No matter what it was, I would become obsessed with it.
Yeah, that's a good trait. What are some traits in that you feel that you have maybe, or that you see in successful producers?
They're just relentless. Like, you can't quit. And there's definitely ups and downs. I definitely have moments where it's just like, man, this sucks. Or like you have something that'll almost go through and then it will just not go through.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you have to be able to like have amnesia, because there's so many failures that come with it that you just have to like for me, it's like nothing happens till it happens. You know what I'm saying? And you just can't get caught up, but you have to just be so confident in yourself and in your sound that I feel like I'm always going to be good, just because I work really hard. And when I press play, it's going to stand out. Whether or not I get the opportunity to press play right now or 5 years from now, whenever the opportunity comes, I'm going to be ready. So it's all about preparation meeting opportunity for me.
So this is not a moment to be humble. I would like for you to tell me, what do you think people think about a Major 7 production? Like, what is it that they hear when they hear something coming from you? Each record is going to always have this element to it. And you could toot your horn a little bit if you like.
I mean, I think that, like I said, I think that it's going to sound like a movie. Like, I think everything I make is going to sound big. If it's a trap beat, it's going to sound like Trap 2.0. It's always going to sound big. So
are you still actively trying to get placements into like the film and TV space? Because I know we talked about definitely.
It. Matter of fact, I just got a call about opportunity right now where they want a record for. That's
awesome. So does it go from like things that you've already like submitted, or you have to make it alongside?
Sometimes it's stuff you submitted, but like you just got to keep working, because you never know how the opportunity will come. Like this particular opportunity just came from me linking up with a songwriter, and then the songwriter wrote something to it, and then the songwriter ended up working on TV shows, and then they submitted it. So it just happened.
Full circle.
Just from working.
That's dope.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, in today, like a lot of people utilize their producer tag. Is that important for you as a producer? Do you think, I mean, obviously like R&B records don't always, it's more like on the trap side or like the hip hop side of things.
For me, I do have a producer tag, but I don't use it a lot, and I have like mixed feelings about it, because like, I really love my tag, you know what I'm saying? But like, I'm gonna tell you what my tag is. My dad actually recorded my tag the day I graduated on top of the Devil Is a Lie beat. This is before it happened.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I said, my family's Jamaican, so it sounds like it's like Major 7, now you make this.
That's dope.
Yeah, and then but I use it where it's fitting. Like sometimes it might just sound good in a record, like if it got like reggae elements and stuff like that. But sometimes I think tags could take away from the vibe of the music. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Because like I said, I'm always trying to create a certain environment for a record and make you feel a certain way when you listen to it. So everything that you hear either helps or subtracts from that feeling that I want you to achieve. And so sometimes the tag might not be fitting for the record. And then one of my mentors, Super Dupes in Miami, he's done so many big records. He's actually Jamaican too. He's a Chinese Jamaican. Chinaman. Yeah. So look up Super Dupes, you'll see him. That's one of my mentors. And he's done records from like Bruno Mars, Show Me, Eminem stuff, Drake. Oh, wow. He's worked on Controller, everything. And so Super Dupes, he was just like, man, he was like, that's a trap thing. He was like, all the real biggest producers in the world don't have no tag. And I kind of had a point, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I have mixed feelings about it. I have nothing against having a tag. But for me, like, I try to put the record first.
Right.
At the end of the day.
For sure. Tell us about the name Major 7 just a little bit more, because I know it's a little bit deeper than just the chord progression. Definitely.
So when I decided I wanted to create my producer name, I wanted to have something that was musical and something that also had a meaning to me. So I probably spent months trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so, like, I like the word Major 7 just because it's a really dope chord. And if you know music theory, you know about the major 7th chord. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, 7 is just a really powerful number, like, from even the biblical standpoint, you know what I'm saying? And my mom, she actually had 6 miscarriages before me. And I was, like, number 7, you know That's what I'm saying? Deep. So she wasn't even supposed to be able to have me, you know what I'm saying? But she kept trying, and the story was very similar to, like, Hannah in the Bible. And Samuel, and that's why my middle name's Samuel.
Oh, that's my last name.
Really?
Dope.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, wow, that's cool. That's a cool story to know. I didn't know.
Appreciate it.
Describe the process of making a hit for you. Like, obviously, we talked about this a little bit before, but you may not know that the record will do what it's gonna do in that moment, or you might. But as a producer or a songwriter, I can imagine there's some important parts in making a hit record for you.
Most definitely. I think the writing is so important. Like, having the right song written to it, because that could make or break it. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I think it's a combination of everything. It has to be the right production with the right song, and then the right mix. Like, all those things to me matter. You know what I'm saying? Because I've had times where I wasn't involved with the mix on a song, and I was like, man, I don't like it. Like, I wish it was mixed like this, or I wish the writing was a little bit better. You know, I think it would have been bigger. And even the artist matters. You could have the same song, have one artist do it, and then have another artist do it, and it could be way bigger with one artist than it will with another. So
that's true.
It has to do with the artist's influence, and I think nowadays, like, records can be hits, like, not necessarily because the song is great or any of that. I've seen songs with terrible mixes and not really that, like, the song doesn't really have substance, but they're hits because we're in such a viral era. Like, you could literally go viral because you did a dance move in the video, and
that's true, and
somebody caught it on Vine, and
now so it's the thing.
Yeah, it's so many ways to go viral now, and that I think that, like, you could have a hit record just by going viral.
How do you think, like, the internet and social media has either, what are the pros and cons of the internet and social media for music?
I think the pros are that everybody has an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really have an opportunity to be creative with marketing and get your stuff out there. And if you got something special, it could catch on. And I think the cons are that it's so oversaturated that it's hard to find the good stuff sometimes because everybody has access to it. So it's like... So
in the same breath, it's like everybody got the opportunity, but everybody got the opportunity.
It's like, for instance, even with producing, like nowadays you could literally have a laptop and a cracked software on there and you could make beats. Like, back in the day, it was just like, and this is even before my time, like, you really had to come to the studio and, like, book studio time and learn all these different pieces of gear. And if you didn't know how to really use them, you couldn't even... It was so much work to even, like,
get plugins,
do
all that
something.
Stuff. Yeah, that was
like a plugin is literally something that you have to plug in.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, it wasn't anything simple. Every single step of the process was difficult. So if you had to really be passionate and driven and all about the music to even want to make music, because it wasn't easy to do.
Exactly. What type of gear or something that you just have to have when you're sitting down to create?
My machine,
you said
my
your keyboard machine. And your drum machine.
Yeah, if I have to have something, I'm gonna always bring my machine.
Gotcha.
But I do love having my keyboard because sometimes like I just have to play the chords, you know.
So but, how often are you playing the piano?
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah, all the time.
Let me ask you. You mentioned a few of your music mentors, people that have helped you along the way.
Yeah.
But talk about being like, I guess, credible in the industry, like people knowing your name and associating your name with like something positive versus.
Oh, that's very important. Just having a good personality and just being able to like communicate well with people is extremely important, and having a good reputation, because you'll be surprised what type of opportunities that will open up, even opportunities that you might not even be ready for. Like people will give you a chance just because they believe in you, or they see how driven you are and see how positive you are. And even Polo the Don told me that after the first time I met him, he texted me, he was like, man, you always gonna be good. Like people always gonna want to work with you because like your spirit, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so that's something that I just try to like take pride in, you know what I'm saying? And just try to do good, you know what I'm saying? Do good to everybody, and it'll always come back to you.
Come back to you, yeah. Definitely. Or what's one thing, or who's one person maybe that you're most appreciative of along the way, like along your journey, or maybe it's something in yourself that you feel like you're most appreciative of?
Oh man, that's tough because it's
so many.
Yeah, it's like everybody in my circle. Like I just appreciate everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, and every experience is, even the bad ones, because I think that everything shapes who you are today, no matter what it is and how it happened. Even when you don't understand it at the time, it kind of like shapes who you are. So every time I would have a failure, it always pushed me to the next success. Like I remember the first time that I tried to work with T-Pain, Key Sweat, he linked me up with his nephew Dex, because he was T-Pain's road manager. And so he was like, send me some stuff. So I sent him like my best work, and he was like, stop holding back, send that heat. And then I was just like, dang, that was the heat. But then I realized, well, what was wrong? And then this is years ago, and then I just had to get better. And then the next year I was on his Stoic mixtape with Shay Mooney. I had a song with him, and I got like 3 songs with T-Pain now. And I just was on his album that just came out.
That's what's up.
With Wale. So like,
I haven't heard it. What song is that we're recording?
It's called CC from DC.
Okay.
And it's crazy because I actually made that beat when I was in college.
Really?
Yeah. So this is the stuff that I was making just because I'm making music.
That's
crazy. Wasn't even like I'm trying to get a placement, but something that you did like 5 years ago could still see the light of day. You know.
That's dope. That's dope. That's what's up. I'm inspired.
Oh really?
Yeah, for sure. What are you working on currently? What's something that you're looking forward to?
Oh man, it's a lot of opportunities. I'm like working on everything, really. You know what I'm saying? I'll never like to say specific things, even though like some things are pretty set in stone. Yeah. Because like I've been in situations where stuff were like right there and it didn't work. So
yeah, I feel you.
I don't ever really like to say like
what it is,
specific things, because
but
I'm constantly working on everything. You know what I'm saying? If somebody's working, I'm trying to get on that project, or you know what I'm saying? Do
you find yourself writing a lot, like being the songwriter?
I'm actually doing more of that recently. Like I'm really like trying to perfect that craft, and working with other dope songwriters just so I could like learn from them. Cool. And just be around, because I'm more for like idea guy or a chorus guy, and I'm so good at producing that like I'm always constantly making melodies, so I might have a really dope melody and just need somebody to like, or a concept, and then have a really great writer like put the words to it.
So you're really into the collaborative space.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And I've become more collaborative than even before, because like I like feeding off people's ideas and seeing what they can bring to the table. Like especially if I like already like respect what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the new stuff I've been doing just came off collaboration, and because like I see myself even as a closer, so I'll be able to hear an idea and figure out how to take it to the next level. And I just know when I hear something special. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely. Is there are there people that you like enjoy collaborating with?
Oh, most definitely.
The most.
I got my boy Ian, who we've been working from. He goes by Berserk from when we were in college. So he's the one that just got his first placement on the T-Pain thing.
That's dope.
So we've been working. My boy King Benjamin, he's actually from Jamaica. He lives in Jamaica.
Oh, wow.
And he just was up here the other day, and he worked on Fresh Air for Future with me, too. And that was his first placement. So
that's what's up.
Like, then my other boy, Mantra in Vegas, he worked on Selfish with me, and that was his first placement. So, and that came from me working with somebody from my high school. I just recorded a song for him. I don't really record a lot of people, but my boy Pro Hayes, he came through, and so he needed me to record a song for him. And then when I heard the track, I was like, who did that? And then I went and researched his stuff, and then I was like, send him my info. And then I started collaborating with him, and that's how that happened. And so, like, for me, it's not even about, like, your status, because I work with more upcoming producers than I do known producers, and I know all the known producers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just about the ideas and the vision, you know what I'm saying? If I hear special ideas, like, that's what I really want to work on versus just collaborating because, oh, you did this and I did that.
So let's just work together.
Yeah, I don't really do political stuff like that. I just rather make the best possible music.
Organic.
Yeah.
It's organic. That's what's up. What's your relationship to Curtis? I normally look over to see where he is.
The first time I met Curtis was probably...
and Patchwerk, I'm sorry.
Oh, Patchwerk, yeah. I came in here with Key Sweat one time when Ross was working on the Mastermind album, and Key Sweat was actually on one of those tracks called Supreme.
Oh.
And so I came in here when he was recording it, and I think that might have been the first time I met Curtis and been to Patchwerk, like in the A room. But I've been here a few times, like even with Native Instruments, like all the events that they do here are they always book Patchwerk every year. In the last 2 years, they even have my dad cater it.
Really?
Yeah, because my dad's crazy with the Jamaican food.
Oh, that's his
And then
food?
Curtis had him cater his like Christmas party and all this stuff.
I've definitely had your dad's food a few times. Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Absolutely amazing. I don't eat meat, so I can only have like
he's
the
crazy
sides,
with the vegetarian stuff too.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I love him.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
So my
I'm
dad's
excited.
kind of like a legend in here.
That's
so I'll
dope.
be going to places, they be like, yo, is your dad cooking? So like it's even in other states. So
do you travel to Jamaica a lot? Or have you traveled?
I actually went to school there for like 2 years, like
really?
7th and 8th grade. I went to school in Jamaica.
Interesting.
And then I didn't go back for a while, but I went back this year because we had a family reunion. So
that's sweet. How did it go?
It was great to be back and see all my family.
I love Jamaica.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I've only been once, but that explains a lot about the East Side. Like I said,
yeah.
You know, you don't strike me as the East Side guy.
Yeah, I'm not like, but I got so much different family. Like a lot of my cousins was in New York, and so I got all these different influences. So that's why I don't even sound like I'm just straight from Atlanta.
From Atlanta, yes.
Like I would come home and be like, man, I'm finna go do this. And my mom would be like, what is finna? Bop, bop. You know what I'm saying?
So how does the culture though like impacted you so much? I mean, obviously influenced the sound of your music.
A lot. I actually got some stuff that's supposed to be coming out where it has like a lot of like reggae dancehall influence, and I think I'm gonna have like a really crazy anthem that like when I go to Jamaica I'm gonna be like the king. So I can't wait till that stuff comes out.
That's what's up.
And so yeah, you hear some of my work. I think I got some stuff coming out in the future where you kind of see some more of those Caribbean influences too.
Yeah. Have you been into like beat tapes or like making like your own project? You know, a lot of producers go that route too. Was that something?
That's probably something I'll look into in the future. Like I've definitely like been thinking about it. You know,
that's what's up.
It's an interesting thing.
It's a different space.
Yeah, because it's like a producer could be an artist. You know.
Right. Definitely. And I know a lot of producers do that usually, like, to just showcase and highlight their variations of sounds,
yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
That's what's up. So, last but not least, I just want to ask you, what could you reiterate to an aspiring producer or artist that's listening and is inspired by what you're doing?
Just quality is more important than quantity. It's not about making 10 beats a day. That's cool, but it's about, all it takes is one. So just try to like really focus on making the best possible music. and the sky is really the limit. Like, and you just can't even like be distracted by all the other things. You just gotta focus.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is. It is tough, and it can be discouraging at times. But you just gotta lock in and stay focused, because if you focus on the craft and you focus on being the best you could possibly be, your music is gonna stand out wherever you play. Whenever you press play, and just live for the opportunity to press play. You might not know when it's gonna happen, but just be ready so that when it happens, you'll get the results that you wanted.
That's deep. That's what's up. Tell them one last time because I know you talked about this, but I want you to just tell me more than your music is big.
Yeah.
What's the one thing that you think that makes you stand out, even if it's you as a person, as a producer?
Yeah. The attention to detail. I think everything matters. Like, you might think that something isn't as important as it is, but for me, like, when I'm making records, like, everything matters. Like, even the key that I put my drums in, like, my drums are pitched to the key of the song. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, some people just hear the kick, I like that kick. No, I like that kick, and then I find out what note that kick is hitting on, and I put the kick on the note that feels the best. You know what I'm saying? And even the hi-hats, like, the hi-hats is not going to be on the grid. It's going to have, I'm going to slide it over just so it has a certain swing to it.
Yeah.
Just so it has a certain feel to it. Like, everything is about the feel that you can create and being able to, like, evoke a certain emotion from somebody. And you can actually do that just by, like, crafting the sound. Like, a little bit of reverb, a little bit of delay, all these things could go a long way.
Do you think you have to be in a certain, like, mental or emotional space in order to create successfully?
I think you don't have to be, because no matter what space you're in, it can inspire something completely different. Like, it's great ideas that I did when I was in college in a completely different space, and I'm just like, how did I create that? Like, or why did I even create that? You know what I'm saying? And it's certain stuff like that where I could take that and then make it something completely new. Even Devil Is a Lie, like, when I heard that song, I was thinking just about sampling so many different parts of that song because it was just soulful, and I just really liked the song. But then I heard that one part, da-na-na, and then I was like, hold on. Because I recently watched Django, and then I was thinking, like, immediately, like, this sounds like a Western feel. So I immediately associated that sound with a movie or something, like, real theatric and big and Western. You know what I'm saying? So
interesting.
As soon as I heard that, I immediately started working on it, and I was just like, I told everybody I could hear Jay-Z on this, I could hear Rick Ross on this, because Rick Ross had something in Django. I hear Jay-Z, Ross, and I could hear 2 Chainz, because it sounded like a mix of sophisticated ignorance. And it had that Western big sound to it. So
that's so good. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
That record is definitely a big record sonically, like it sounds.
And if you play it again, you're going to be like, yeah, this sound like it could have been in Django.
That's dope. Know? So you just get inspired by a lot of different things around you.
Yeah, everything. And when I listen to music, like, I break it down in my head. Like, it's hard for me to even fall asleep listening to music because my mind is working so hard when I hear music. It's just like, oh, that hi-hat pattern is crazy. How did they do this? Or, like, I'm listening to the kick pattern. Even if it's something I haven't done before, I'm, like, tapping it out.
You're trying to imitate that.
Like, oh, that's how they did that. And I just look for special things in records and just try to, like, learn from everything.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Well,
always be a student to the craft. That's my number one thing. Like, you have to be a student at all times. Like, I'm always in here learning. Like, even when I walked in, like, I could have walked out when y'all were doing the last interview, but I'm, like, learning. Because you can learn from everybody, and it's even people that are in the studio with me that aren't professionals, but I listen to everybody's opinion. I'm like, what do you think of this versus this? And even though I might go with A and they might say B, I think about why they said B. You know what I'm saying? But you have to take it all with a grain of salt and know what your role is as a producer. You have to make decisions. Like, producing to me is just a series of decisions.
That's true. That's true.
And so even though I might not agree, I think about, well, why? Why did they say that? And then I'll try it. And if it works, it works. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that is what I go with. So
That's what's up. Well, I'm happy to have sat down with Major 7 myself.
Same here.
Yes, you're awesome and very inspiring. I know there's going to be a lot more to come.
Yeah,
You're so
sure.
young, I'm sure. I feel like you have more to create.
Yeah.
So we're excited to see that. Where can they find you on social media, and even if they wanted to get in contact with you?
You get my most used social media platform is probably Instagram. So hit me on Instagram at Major7, MAJORSEVEN, all spelled out. And then Twitter, I believe, is at Major7 too.
Okay, cool. It is. I already said.
Hey.
Thank you again. And as always, you guys can find me at Sammy Approved on all social media platforms. And thank you guys for tuning into the I Do Music podcast. Sonically superior.